Outside, thunder and lightning raged as Emily quietly left her room and tiptoed towards James's room. She pushed the door open slightly and peeked inside. The window was indeed wide open. She tiptoed in and quietly closed the window.
Who gave you permission to enter my room?
Emily's heart skipped a beat. She turned around sheepishly and saw a stern, handsome face staring back at her. Her usually proud head lowered as she softly explained.
It's raining heavily. I just wanted to help you close the window.
James shot her a cold glance.
From now on, only the servants are allowed in my room.
Emily forced a bitter smile and looked up slightly to meet his gaze.
I won't wander around anymore.
The word wander made James think of Anna, who was now confined to a wheelchair. His anger flared up even more.
You caused Anna to spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. Why can you still walk?
Anna was the apple of James's eye, a name that even their marriage couldn't surpass.
She's my sister. How could I ever harm her?
Ha, a malicious woman like you is capable of anything.
James scoffed and let go of her. Emily suddenly laughed bitterly, her words spilling out uncontrollably.
James, you deserve not being with the one you love because you have no heart.
James, stung by her words, grabbed her in a fit of rage.
If it weren't for you insisting on marrying me, Anna and I would have been together long ago.
Emily's laugh turned sorrowful.
I'm the one who's unnecessary.
Then get out.
James pushed her out mercilessly. Emily held back her tears and returned to her room, only falling asleep as dawn approached. In the afternoon, a guest arrived at the house, her sister, Anna. Emily was momentarily stunned before she masked her complex emotions and greeted her.
Sister, what brings you here?
Anna, sitting in her wheelchair, smiled gently.
I missed you, so I sneaked out while the nurse wasn't around to come see you.
Emily suppressed her unease and returned the smile.
You shouldn't do that. It worries me, sis.
I'm fine. It's just that James insists on having someone watch over me, so I can't go anywhere.
Emily's expression darkened, feeling a pang in her heart. Noticing the change in Emily's expression, Anna quickly explained.
Don't misunderstand. James is only looking after me because of you.
Emily opened her mouth to say something, but James's urgent voice came from the doorway.
Is Anna here?
Emily was puzzled by how quickly James knew her sister had come to see her. Suddenly, Anna grabbed her hand tightly and then, before Emily could react, fell heavily from her wheelchair. There was no time for Emily to process her shock. James rushed over and roughly pulled her away, causing her to stumble and fall.
Emily, don't go too far. If you dare do this again, you'll regret it.
Anna, seeing the situation, quickly intervened to explain.
James, let her go. I fell by accident.
Hearing Anna's words, James released Emily with a grim face.
I saw everything. You don't need to cover for her. Are you hurt anywhere?
My leg hurts a bit.
James, full of concern, held her tightly and carried her to the hospital without looking back. Emily hugged herself and finally broke down in tears. Why did she have to fall in love with James? His eyes were only for her sister. The scene just now was so painful to watch. The next day, James asked her to go to the hospital to take care of her sister. Although surprised, she went.
The hospital is too stuffy, so I asked James to let you come and keep me company.
Sis, are you okay?
I just finished a checkup. The doctor will bring the results soon.
As soon as Anna finished speaking, a doctor came in and said to Anna on the bed,
There's no other issue, but since you're pregnant, you need to be more careful.
Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. Her sister was pregnant?
Sis, you're pregnant? Whose child is it?
It's James's. He drank too much that day and couldn't control himself.
Emily felt her mind explode with a loud buzz. James and her sister, and now they had a child? Seeing her silence, Anna's tears began to fall.
I'm sorry, but I want to keep this child. Please divorce James and let us be together. The child can't be born without a father.
Divorce James? Who would then fulfill her dreams?
I'll think about it. You should rest.
After saying that, she almost fled the room. Inside, Anna watched her leave, gripping the edge of the blanket tightly. After returning home from the hospital, Emily locked herself in her room, her mind in turmoil. She thought about many things, like when she first married James. She truly didn't know James liked her sister because her sister always said they were just friends. If she had known, she wouldn't have married him. She also didn't expect that shortly after their marriage, her sister would have an accident. That day, Anna had just gotten out of her car when Emily lost consciousness. When she woke up, she saw Anna lying in a pool of blood, and the dashcam recorded that she was the one who hit her. Since then, James's attitude towards her had grown increasingly cold. Thinking of this, she clutched her aching chest. If James knew her sister was carrying his child, he would be very happy. She had chased after him for so long, it was time to let go. Her sister would probably tell James about the child, and then James would come to her for a divorce. At dawn, as Emily was about to go downstairs for breakfast, James's bodyguards forcibly took her to the car. The car headed straight to the hospital, and she was brought to Anna's room. Seeing her, James pulled her over.
Go in quickly. Anna is trying to harm herself.
Harm herself? James didn't give her time to react and pushed her inside. In the room, Anna sat on the bed, her face pale. She turned to look at Emily and gave a smile.
Just stand there. I want to say a few things.
What's wrong, sis?
You should live well with James and learn to be a good wife. I've thought a lot these past few days. I shouldn't ask you to leave James. I was too selfish. After all, I'm just a burden who can't even stand.
But what about your child?
I'm sorry to him.
Sis, you wouldn't think of not keeping the child, would you?
You and James should be happy together. I wish you both the best.
Then she took out a knife hidden under the blanket and slashed her wrist.
Sis!
Emily's eyes widened as she tried to rush over to stop it, but it was too late. She could only watch as blood began to spread on the pristine hospital bed.
Doctor, save her!
Doctors who had been waiting outside quickly came in. Leading them was James, who without hesitation, picked up Anna. Emily followed them to the emergency room, hearing James's low voice as he pressed his face against Anna's.
Anna, why are you so foolish? What would I do if something happened to you? You can't leave me, do you hear?
As they approached the emergency room, they encountered someone. The doctors respectfully greeted him.
Professor Michael.
Emily looked over and saw that the so-called Professor Michael was surprisingly young.
What's the patient's condition?
The doctors, somewhat embarrassed, lowered their heads and replied.
It's a wrist injury. The patient's emotions are unstable, and we're preparing for emergency treatment.
It didn't seem like a major issue. Michael was about to leave when he noticed Emily and turned back.
Are all these people the patient's family?
Yes.
I'll be involved in this emergency treatment.
A while later, Michael came out, holding a consent form and handed it to Emily.
Sign this. The patient needs a blood transfusion.
He pulled down his mask and gave Emily a nod.
Take her to get her blood tested.
The blood bank has enough.
Why not use a walking blood bank?
Michael looked at Emily questioningly, but James pushed her impatiently.
Hurry up!
Emily reluctantly followed Michael for the blood test, but the results were unexpected.
Her blood type doesn't match the patient's. It's useless to draw her blood.
James clenched his fists, his knuckles cracking.
Why don't my sister and I have matching blood types?
Even siblings can have different blood types if the parents' blood types vary. It's random inheritance. For example, your sister is type B and you are type A.
Emily remembered that there was no B-type blood in their family. What was going on? She suppressed her doubts and sincerely thanked him.
Thank you.
It's nothing. I'm a visiting professor here for training. Feel free to contact me if you need anything.
Michael handed her his business card and headed to the blood bank. James snatched the card from her hand and threw it into a nearby trash can, his eyes cold as ice.
Flirting with another man right in front of me?
You should be concerned about my sister right now.
Mentioning Anna made James's expression turn violent.
She hurt herself, and you didn't stop her. How could Anna have such a cruel sister like you?
I tried to stop her but couldn't in time.
James sneered and walked back to the ward, not wanting to hear her explanation. In the hospital office.
Did her actions the other day affect the baby?
What baby?
Emily frowned and explained in a low voice.
The doctors at your hospital said my sister was expecting.
Your sister is not expecting.
It was as if a thunderbolt had struck her. Emily almost couldn't stand. Her sister wasn't expecting? The doctors couldn't have misdiagnosed, so her sister bribed the hospital staff to deceive her?
What about her legs? Can she still walk? She had a car accident before.
Car accident? Her legs are fine. She can walk.
Feeling like a lost soul, Emily thanked Michael and went home to make a call.
Help me check this car's dashcam footage.
The next day, Emily went to the hospital. She hesitated for a moment, looking at her sister.
Sis, are you not expecting James's child?
What are you talking about?
Professor Michael, who treated you, told me.
A flash of panic crossed Anna's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure and frowned in pain.
My stomach! It hurts so much!
Immediately, someone pushed the door open and entered. Anna cried out again.
It hurts!
The person who came in was James, his face dark.
Do you want to harm your sister to the point of no return? Get out and don't appear in front of Anna again.
Emily lowered her head, hiding the tears about to fall from her eyes.
Fine, I'll go.
With that, she left without lingering. As soon as she got home, Emily received a call.
Miss, the dashcam footage you requested has been sent to you.
Emily hung up and opened her email on the computer. There was a report, and she clicked on it. The video clearly recorded her sister spraying some perfume in the car before getting out. She quickly passed out, and during that time, her sister staged the car accident, lying in a pool of red paint. Emily stood frozen, her body stiff. Her sister had used a fake car accident to frame her. Why? When the video ended, the screen went dark. Emily stayed in that position for a long time. With the evidence in front of her, she thought she could confront her sister. Emily went to the hospital. The room was empty except for Anna, who smiled gently when she saw her.
Emily, why are you here?
Why did you fake the car accident to frame me?
Anna's face changed for a moment but quickly returned to an innocent look of surprise.
What are you talking about, Emily?
Stop pretending. I wouldn't ask if I didn't have evidence.
Anna's hand clenched under the blanket, her nails digging into her palm without her noticing.
Did you bring the dashcam footage?
Of course not.
Anna's lips curled into a gentle smile.
Then let's talk at the old warehouse tomorrow at 5 in the afternoon.
Why tomorrow?
Anna's smile deepened.
Because today, there's another show to watch.
She said, pushing everything off the table. In Emily's confused gaze, Anna rolled off the bed and dialed a number, crying out.
James, help me! My sister is trying to harm me!
Soon, bodyguards rushed in and restrained Emily, preventing her from escaping, while Anna cowered in a corner. Within minutes, James arrived. He rushed to Anna's side, holding her trembling body and comforting her softly.
Don't be afraid. I'm here.
Emily looked at them with a mix of laughter and tears. Anna had indeed put on quite a show. After calming Anna, James glared at Emily and shouted.
What are you trying to do?
James, the person you love is a liar.
You really can say anything.
James sneered and pushed her to the ground, looking down at her.
Lock her up! Don't let her see Anna again!
Anna, with tears in her eyes, shook her head at James.
Don't lock Emily up. She just came to ask me to talk tomorrow.
Seeing Anna's understanding, James angrily glanced at Emily.
Didn't you hear? Get out!
The bodyguards immediately obeyed and took Emily out. She stood at the hospital door, her nose stinging with unshed tears. The next day at 5 in the afternoon, Emily went to the warehouse as agreed. Anna was already waiting inside.
Emily, tone, serious, say what you need to say directly.
The doubts in her heart had formed a knot.
Anna, tone, unfriendly, do you know why I framed you with a fake car accident?
Because I want James to hate you.
Looking at Anna, Emily suddenly felt she was a stranger.
Emily, tone, confused, you did all this just to make him hate me? Why are you doing this to me? Could it be you're not?
Anna let out a bitter smile.
Anna, tone, sad, that's right. I'm just Dad's illegitimate daughter. Since childhood, they always gave you the best things first. The whole family adored you. I had to act like I was sensible and kind to stay in that house.
Emily stared at her, her eyes slowly reddening.
Emily, tone, sad, but we grew up together as sisters. How could you?
James returned home but didn't see Anna. He frowned and asked coldly.
James, tone, serious, where's Anna?
Servant, tone, serious, sir, madam went out early this morning.
He furrowed his brows, feeling a bit uneasy. Suddenly, he seemed to realize something.
James, tone, serious, where did she go?
Servant, tone, serious, madam said she was going to see Miss Emily.
Upon hearing this, James immediately drove to the hospital. He hurriedly ran to the ward and pushed open the door, but Emily was not there. His heart tightened. At that moment, a nurse came by. James grabbed her and asked anxiously.
James, Tone, anxious, where are the people in this room?
Nurse, Tone, serious this morning, a woman came, and they both left.
Without thinking, he called his assistant, instructing him to find Anna immediately. 10 minutes later, James received a message from his assistant and drove to the address provided. Slap. Anna slapped Emily hard, her voice filled with malice.
Anna, Tone, angry, don't talk to me about being sisters. I never wanted to grow up with you.
Emily stared at her in shock, forgetting to cry. Her face burned with pain. Anna's lips curled into a sinister smile. She grabbed Emily's hair and slammed her head against the wall.
Anna, Tone, angry, you always had such good luck. When I met James, he was just a poor student. When you told the family you wanted to marry him, he was taken back by the Song family.
Emily pushed her away forcefully, shouting in anger.
Emily, Tone, angry, so you pretended to be disabled, lied about being pregnant, and threatened to end your life just to take James from me? What do you think he would think of you if he knew what you did?
Anna's eyes were sharp as she stared at Emily.
Anna, Tone, serious, I even tried to end my life, and he still didn't divorce you. Do you think he would be completely mine only if you were gone?
Emily glanced at her nervously, but before she could say anything, Anna dragged her deeper into the warehouse, to the area with the most packed boxes. Anna's eyes were wild as she looked at Emily, taking out a can of gasoline and pouring it over the cardboard boxes. Anna pushed Emily into the pile of boxes and lit a match. The fire instantly roared to life.
Emily, Tone, terrified, what are you doing? It's illegal to harm someone.
Anna's eyes were cold, and her lips curled into a twisted smile.
Anna, Tone, cold, who will know it was me? Goodbye, sister.
With that, Anna walked away without looking back. At the warehouse entrance, Anna saw James rushing over her. She immediately collapsed weakly.
Are you okay?
Emily tried to set me on fire, but I managed to escape.
The veins on James's forehead bulged instantly.
Where is she?
She already left.
Anna leaned gently against James's chest, a cruel smile forming where he couldn't see. James picked up Anna and was about to leave when a faint cry for help came from inside. He instinctively turned around.
Is there anyone else inside?
No one else.
James looked inside again. The cries for help were faint and intermittent. Had he misheard?
We should go.
James took a few steps, feeling an emptiness in his heart. He looked back once more. The fire was raging uncontrollably. Suppressing the strange feeling in his heart, he turned and left without looking back. The warehouse beams crackled and fell, crashing down on Emily. Her vision went black, and she lost consciousness. James waited at the hospital until Anna's condition stabilized before returning home. He intended to confront Emily, but she wasn't there.
Where is she?
Mrs. Johnson went out this afternoon and hasn't returned.
Is she avoiding me? James scoffed, wondering how long she could hide. He left the TV on and sat on the living room sofa until dawn, watching the sky gradually brighten outside the window. The TV blared with noise.
Yesterday, a warehouse fire broke out in the west of the city. A woman's body was found inside.
James's eyes were glued to the TV. Wasn't that the place Anna went to yesterday? He immediately got up and drove to the warehouse. James got out of the car and, using his height advantage, pushed through the crowd to see the body. The body was burned beyond recognition, but he could still identify it as Emily. His eyes caught sight of the wedding ring on the body's hand, confirming it further. It was their wedding ring. He reached out and carefully touched the ring. A small hairpin fell from the charred pocket. He remembered it was the first gift he had given her when they met. He hadn't expected her to keep it so close.
Emily, who allowed you to lie here like this? Get up. Emily, get up. Do you hear me?
His eyes reddened as he shook her, but apart from his voice, the silence was eerie. The police's comforting words echoed in his ears. He suppressed his grief, looking around with a cold gaze.
Send the body for cremation. I want the ashes.
Yes, yes.
The police responded quickly, calling for help to carry the body for cremation. James looked at the charred remains of the warehouse, recalling the faint cries for help. His heart tightened. Emily opened her mouth to say something, but James's urgent voice came from the doorway.
Is Anna here?
Emily was puzzled by how quickly James knew her sister had come to see her. Suddenly, Anna grabbed her hand tightly and then, before Emily could react, fell heavily from her wheelchair. There was no time for Emily to process her shock. James rushed over and roughly pulled her away, causing her to stumble and fall.
Emily, don't go too far. If you dare do this again, you'll regret it.
James, let her go. I fell by accident.
James's anger did not subside, but he let go of Emily and turned to Anna.
James, let me explain. I did it because I love you so much.
I married Emily.
She's gone. Didn't you always love me? Now that she's gone, we can be together.
Seeing Anna like this, James felt nothing but disgust. He grabbed her wrist and growled.
You caused her to be gone.
Feeling his anger, Anna was stunned for a moment and then lowered her head, tears falling.
James, I did it all for you.
For me? Or for the position of Mrs. Johnson? If you truly loved me, you would have been with me before I got married.
But she's already gone. Why can't I?
Ignoring James's fiery gaze, she continued, venting her frustration.
She even begged you for help back then, and you didn't save her. We're both responsible.
Recalling the cries for help that day, James felt a sharp pain in his heart. He tightened his grip on Anna's wrist, his voice filled with anger and sorrow.
You said there was no one inside.
I've lied many times. The accident was staged by me. The attempt was fake. I've been manipulating your relationship with her all along. It's your fault for believing me.
James's face contorted with pain. He had misunderstood Emily for so long, and she had endured his misunderstanding without a single kind look from him. He forced a bitter smile.
Yes, why did I believe you?
With that, he left Anna and returned to the villa. Once home, he locked himself in Emily's room, where he found her journal.
James usually has a Western-style breakfast, loves peanut butter toast, and enjoys milk and cereal.
He continued reading her notes.
James drinks freshly brewed coffee to stay awake because he sleeps late. No wonder a servant brought him coffee every night.
He read further, feeling more and more guilty.
James dislikes silence. When there's no sound, he needs music or the TV on. James's birthday is on the 20th. He likes dark-colored cakes. Buy ingredients tomorrow. James doesn't like closing windows and easily catches colds.
James closed the notebook and held it to his chest. It was filled with her love for him, but he realized it too late. He was a fool, repeatedly hurting and disappointing her. If he could do it all over again, he would never treat her that way. He finally understood that he loved Emily. But why did fate have to be so cruel, making him realize it only after losing her? He frantically gathered all her belongings, not letting anyone touch them. He clung to those insignificant memories, belatedly sinking into the sorrow of losing Emily. One day, the butler couldn't bear it any longer and cautiously advised him.
Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson is gone. You need to pull yourself together. She wouldn't want to see you like this.
James emerged from the room filled with her belongings, his chin covered in stubble, looking like a different person. His voice was hoarse.
What do you think she would want me to do?
The butler hesitated before replying.
Mrs. Johnson wouldn't want to see you in pain. If you can't let go, investigate the accident. It might bring her some peace.
James's eyes narrowed dangerously.
Tell the driver to get the car ready.
Anna was quickly found. James, with a cold expression, had his bodyguards restrain her.
What are you going to do?
Make you repay everything you owe Emily.
Anna struggled desperately.
You're not James. He wouldn't treat me like this.
I was blind before.
He was no longer the man he used to be, the one who was deceived by Anna and let Emily down.
Take her away.
Anna was taken to a warehouse. When the bodyguards tied her up with ropes, she panicked completely.
Please, let me go, James.
Hit her.
A loud slap landed on Anna's face, causing her cheek to swell up quickly.
Muffled cries.
James sat on a chair where he could see her, crossing his long legs. He gave the bodyguards a look, and they brought over gasoline, pouring it around Anna.
Muffled cries.
Burn.
The bodyguards removed the gag from Anna's mouth and lit the fire without hesitation.
Cough, cough, save me, James, please.
Scared now? Did you think about how scared your sister was when you trapped her in the fire?
I know I was wrong. Please let me go.
The fire already reached her clothes. James had no intention of letting her go.
Today, you'll experience the despair and fear that Emily felt.
Flammable materials were continuously thrown into the fire. Anna's clothes caught fire with a sizzle, and the heat made her skin sting.
I really know I was wrong. Please, if this continues, I'll
burn more.
Anna's hair caught fire, and she desperately tried to avoid the flames. Just as the fire began to blister her skin, a bucket of cold water was poured over her, dousing the flames.
Sigh of relief.
Don't think this means I'm letting you go. I'm just keeping you alive.
She lay there like a discarded object, her burnt and torn clothes soaked through. The weather was cold, and soon she was shivering.
Keep an eye on her. If her clothes dry, burn her again. Don't let her go unless I say so.
The first thing he did upon returning to the villa was to hold Emily's urn tightly.
I've punished Anna for you. Are you happy? Do you want to see it yourself?
He kicked the coffee table in frustration. Why? He had asked himself countless times why it was Emily who had to die, why he hadn't insisted on going in to save her that day. He drank several bottles of alcohol, getting thoroughly drunk. The door to his room suddenly knocked.
Young master, you need to pull yourself together. If Mrs. Johnson saw you like this, she would be heartbroken. The company needs you too. It's your father's lifelong effort.
James sobered up a bit. The company was his father's lifelong effort, he couldn't neglect it. It would be too unfair to his father. He slowly clenched his fists, he couldn't go on like this. The next day, he finally had Emily's urn buried. He stood by her grave for several hours, telling himself he would get used to it. That day, the executives of the Song Group were shocked to see James, who hadn't appeared for a long time. He stood in the conference room, dressed in a finely tailored suit, exuding an extraordinary aura.
Organize all the company's contracts from this period and send them to me.
Emily woke up in an unfamiliar place, which seemed like a small hospital. Turning her head, she saw Michael slumped over the bedside, apparently asleep. Was it he who saved her? She didn't wake him, instead staring blankly at the ceiling. Her throat felt parched, and when she cleared it, a sharp pain shot through her. Michael stirred, lifting his head to see her awake.
Are you okay?
Emily managed a pale smile, wanting to say something, but her throat felt like it was being cut by a knife, burning with pain, and she couldn't make a sound. Her smile faded as she tried several times but still couldn't speak, looking at Michael in confusion.
Your respiratory tract was severely damaged. I tried many methods but couldn't fully heal it. Your face was burned. I did my best to restore it somewhat. I hope you're okay with it.
He handed her a mirror. Emily looked at the reflection of a girl who only somewhat resembled her former self, unsure of what to say. Her expression darkened. Ever since meeting James, fate had been unkind to her. Surviving this near-death experience felt like a punishment for loving James for so many years.
I'm sorry. It's my fault for not being able to heal you completely.
Emily smiled weakly, mouthing the words, "It's okay." If it weren't for him, she would be gone. How could she blame him?
I'll get you some water.
Shortly after he left, a young nurse came in with some medication. Seeing Emily awake, she was excited.
Miss, you're finally awake.
Emily couldn't speak, so she gave the nurse a friendly smile. The nurse, being cheerful, didn't mind her silence and kept talking.
You know, Professor Michael personally saved you. He was so worried when he brought you in and stayed by your side for 2 days without sleep. This hospital is run by Professor Michael. We've never seen him bring a patient in himself. Miss, are you Professor Michael's girlfriend?
Emily shook her head at the nurse's curious gaze. The nurse, not giving up, said,
Then you must be someone he likes.
Before Emily could respond, Michael returned, scolding the nurse softly.
Deliver the medicine and leave.
The nurse stuck out her tongue and left. Michael handed Emily the water, his earlier sternness gone, replaced with a bit of awkwardness.
Be careful with your throat.
Before he could finish, Emily started coughing, each cough bringing a burning pain to her throat. Michael patted her back, comforting her.
Your airway is still healing. Don't worry, I'll help you recover.
Emily nodded gratefully. At this moment, Michael seemed to be the only one willing to help her. Michael's medical skills were good, and Emily recovered quickly. Within a week, she could drink and eat, though she still couldn't speak. She began learning sign language, writing down notes every day. Michael learned with her. After half a month in the hospital, she had learned enough for daily communication. When it was time to leave, she told Michael she wanted to find a small town to live the life she wanted. Without hesitation, Michael said,
I'll go with you.
Emily looked at him silently.
I can't let you go alone. I need to be there with you.
Michael was probably the only person who cared about her besides her parents. Emily lowered her eyes, mouthing a silent thank you. They found a small town, and Emily started setting up her own shop, a small dessert shop. She designed and supervised the renovation herself, occasionally making desserts. The shop only had one employee. She had always wanted to open such a shop. Ideally, it would be a bit bigger, but given her current communication difficulties, this was enough. In her long-ago plans, she had envisioned doing this with James. But ideals and reality often differ. The shop was up and running, and her new life had begun. 2 years later, Emily usually ran a small business in this dessert shop, and in the evenings, Michael would come to pick her up and take her home. She felt that life was good and she was happy.
Emily, how was your day today?
Malie smiled and gestured that it was busy but fulfilling. During this time, Michael had subtly expressed his feelings for her, but Malie always felt unworthy of him and avoided the topic.
Michael respected Emily's feelings and wasn't in a rush. He had plenty of time to help her move past the sorrows of her earlier life.
Emily, let's go abroad in the next couple of days.
Malie, who was washing vegetables nearby, looked at him in confusion and used sign language to ask, "Why?"
There's hope for your voice. They called me today.
The vegetables fell from Emily's hands as she stared at Michael in disbelief, tears welling up in her eyes. She trembled as she typed 3 words on her phone. Is it true?
Eyeing her reaction, Michael knew how difficult the past 2 years had been for her. He was immensely grateful for his decision to move to this city with her.
The next day, they boarded a plane to go abroad.
In the hospital, Michael held Emily's hand and gently reassured her.
It's going to be okay, Emily. You'll be fine soon. I'll be waiting outside.
Malie's nervousness gradually eased. She thought if she could speak again, she would be with Michael.
The surgery went smoothly, and when Emily came out, she was still deeply asleep from the anesthesia. Michael gently touched her face.
The surgery was very successful. With some recovery time, she'll be able to speak.
The attending physician reported the results and explained the post-operative care to Michael.
After a few days of rest, Emily was discharged from the hospital. Her voice recovery could continue in daily life.
Any day, a customer asked, "Do you have any more of this bread?" Malie instinctively answered with her voice,
Yes.
The moment she spoke, she was overjoyed, and Michael's attention was immediately drawn to her.
I can talk now.
Tears streamed down Emily's face, and Michael hugged her tightly, equally emotional.
Emily, I knew you could do it!
Meanwhile, in the Empire State Building, a man in a black suit received a call.
Sir, Anna has passed away.
James's eyes showed no emotion. Anna's time had come. It was meant to be an exchange of lives with Emily.
Handle the arrangements, but keep it simple.
For 2 years, he had buried himself in work, trying to avoid thinking about Emily. Each memory of her brought a sharp pain to his heart. Over these 2 years, his temper had mellowed. He knew Emily didn't like seeing his aggressive side. It was his unstable emotions that had repeatedly disappointed her. Half a month later, James decided to take a business trip to a small town to clear his mind. He was drawn to a dessert shop by its enticing aroma.
Hello, I'd like a piece of toast.
Emily turned and, upon seeing the familiar face, was momentarily stunned.
Sir, please pay here.
Emily didn't think James would recognize her. Her current face was only a vague resemblance to her old one, and her voice had changed significantly after treatment.
The owner is very beautiful.
This manner of speaking surprised Emily. It was so unlike the James she once knew. Perhaps his marriage to Anna had softened him.
Thank you.
Emily,
Sir, what did you say?
you look a lot like my wife.
She and Anna looked alike? No one had ever said that before. James must be lying.
It's an honor. Have a nice day, sir.
Do you have a boyfriend?
Emily was surprised. Shouldn't he be married to Anna? Why ask her this? To avoid unnecessary trouble, she replied.
Yes, sir. We're getting married soon.
Congratulations on your upcoming wedding.
Outside the shop, the cold wind cleared James's mind. Reflecting on his thoughts, he felt like slapping himself. He had considered finding someone to replace Emily to ease his guilt. He must be crazy. If Emily knew, she would be even more hurt. He returned to City A without delay, choosing to immerse himself in work once again. That evening, Michael came to the dessert shop to pick up Emily after work. Watching her busy figure through the glass window, Michael felt his heart race. After finishing up, Emily looked towards the door, met Michael's gaze, grabbed her bag, locked the shop, and ran to his car.
Michael, guess who I saw today?
What happened, Emily? Who did you see?
Michael asked, taking her bag and fastening her seatbelt.
I saw James.
Michael's hand froze at the mention of the name, and he quickly asked,
Did he do anything to you?
No, he didn't recognize me. He just bought some bread and left.
That's good. Let's go home. I bought your favorite dishes today.
Michael smiled and started the car. As the car drove smoothly down the road, Emily looked at the man in the driver's seat, a smile spreading across her face. Michael wasn't bad-looking, even handsome. Over the years, he had been there for her, offering help and encouragement. Emily couldn't say she had no feelings for him, but her previous voice issues had made her self-conscious. She never expected Michael to find someone to cure her. She had always thought she still harbored some love for James, but seeing him today, she felt nothing. She realized that all the love and hate were truly in the past. She just wanted to live well now. Seeing Michael waiting for her after work, the warmth in her heart told her she liked him, not out of gratitude, but genuine affection for such a warm person.
Michael,
Yes?
let's be together.
Michael abruptly stopped the car, turned to face the girl he had been longing for, and asked in disbelief,
What did you say?
Let's be together.
Michael felt like he was floating. Her kiss made him feel weightless. His eyes darkened, and he asked seriously,
Are you sure, Emily?
Of course, I'm sure. Do you not want to be with me?
Michael quickly hugged her, looking into her eyes.
Of course, I do. If I could, I'd want to be with you forever.
Seeing his anxious expression, Emily couldn't suppress her smile. Before she could react, Michael's kiss fell gently. The kiss was long and tender, carrying the weight of their feelings. Their wedding was held later that year on a lush green lawn, where they exchanged rings and began a new chapter.